5'9" with the real red eyes, and we dying inside. Oh, bodies in fluoride.
What is good, y'all? This is Jayvee here, and today I got another episode of Jayvee's Jams for you guys. If you're not familiar with the series, this is basically a video where I go over a number of projects that I've been listening to for the past few weeks and give my quick thoughts on them and my recommendations. So today got a decent amount since I basically tried to do these monthly. Every time I do an episode, I include, over 10 projects. So definitely we're going, I think there's about 13, 14 this week. So let's just get started. A lot of these dropped fairly recently. To start, we have Red Hot Chili Peppers, The Getaway, alt-rock band, been killing it for a very long time. So you shouldn't be too new to the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And they have their new album, The Getaway, just dropped. Thought it was a fantastic album. It's very Red Hot Chili Peppers, you know what I mean? You got Flea doing his thing on the bass, man. Vocals are sounding as great as ever. It's very true to their sound. They're not trying to go super modern sounding. We're not getting any, EDM pop tracks or any trap influence on this particular project. We're getting the best of them. They're sounding better than ever. There were some throwback sounds on there just by some of the way the guitar riffs on there, and then some of the chill areas of the album definitely were giving me really old, at most early 2000s kind of vibes on it. But loved this project, listened to it a couple times already. I don't consider myself the most knowledgeable person on the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I pretty much know a lot of the songs that everybody else knows, and I've maybe listened to, I can't remember by name, but maybe 2 or 3 of their more iconic projects from their past discography. So I have heard their full projects before getting to this one, and I gotta say, man, this one, it sounds very true to them. That's the way I can surmise it the best. If you're a Red Hot Chili Peppers fan, I don't think you'll be let down by this particular album. I think it's very kind of like how Radiohead, they stuck to their sound. They didn't really acclimate too much to what's going on in the modern scene, in the indie scene, in the alt-rock scene. They pulled, Weezer did the White Album. The Getaway, they stick to what they're best at, and they deliver a very solid project. Next we have YG's Full Brazy. This is the follow-up to his debut album, My Crazy Life. Really love that album. Now, I'm not the biggest West Coast hip-hop fan for that conventional G-Funk West Coast sound, that post-Snoop, Dre, Chronic kind of sound. I do listen to a bit of The Game, but between The Game and YG for the modern, that's about as far as that West Coast gangbanger rap goes for me particularly. I used to listen to Corrupt back in the day. But I gotta say, man, loved his debut album, and I really love this one. This is about as West Coast as it gets, for sure. And this episode, we do have some more West Coast projects, so I'm trying to show some love to that. Because sometimes, I inadvertently, a lot of my recommendations are super East Coast heavy, because that's just primarily the sound that I listen to, I listen to a lot of, Joey Badass and ASAP Mob and stuff like that. And then when it comes to 90s stuff, I listen to predominantly 90s, East Coast stuff. So I'm trying to diversify it a lot for y'all who really like West Coast stuff. Man, Full Brazy, an absolutely fantastic album. You're getting a lot of, that blood talk, that grimy gun talk, that West Coast gangsterisms, that G-Funk kind of touches. You're getting that nice, clean Mustard production, that Bay Area sound, derivative, that Mustard always has experimented with. And YG sounding as great as ever. Again, some of my favorite tracks on this particular project, Twist My Fingers. Ever since he dropped that single, I think that's an incredible song. A West Coast anthem for sure. Definitely got love, but I feel like it didn't necessarily get the love that it necessarily deserves. And maybe because in a Joey Badass kind of way, maybe he's just 15 to 20 years too late with that kind of track. But I think it's a fantastic album, fantastic track. I also really like that song with Nipsey Hussle, Fuck Donald Trump. Crazy anthem. I was surprised to see him actually put out an album, because I wasn't sure if that was a collaborative track between him and Nipsey, or if it was going to end up on a future Nipsey project. But nope, YG got it. He put on his project. Full Brazy. Now, I haven't lived with this album for too long. It's a very new release, so I'm not going to say that it's, better than his first project. But I got to say, so far, from from what I've been listening to, I'm really enjoying this one. This one doesn't necessarily have that kind of like conceptual narrative that the first one felt to have, like just each song kind of bled into the next with the interludes and stuff like that, and it kind of told a story in a very Good Kid, Mad City-ish kind of way. This one's not quite like that, but it, like for example the game's newest project that we'll get into later, Streets of Compton, it's giving a very West Coast, you know, Compton, LA, this is my life, this is my everyday kind of experience, these are the guys I hang with, these are the guys that I listen to. For cons, I mean, like, I'm a big Drake fan for sure. I don't know, for some reason he sounded really out of place on that one track that he features on. That's just my personal opinion. That's only the one part that pulled me out. It's kind of weird. I don't know. He was, you know, with his normal Torontoisms and talking about running his city and stuff like that. But there felt like a bit of a disconnect, especially in the context of the two surrounding songs and how, you know, West Coast sounding they are. Drake's voice and kind of flow and approach to that kind of beat sound a little inorganic to me in particular, but it was really dope to hear Drake nonetheless. Next, we have See Stars Treehouse. Been a fan of See Stars for quite a while now. First project I really enjoyed by them though. Well, I used to like 3D and End of the World Party. Over time, I really started disliking that project. If you're not familiar with them, they're an American post-hardcore band who incorporate a lot of EDM, trap, and dubstep influences into their music, and for the most part, I'm not really into post-hardcore music, especially when you get more into like the electronic core kind of shit. Not really my cup of tea. However, See Stars, listened to them for a while now. Digital Renegade was one of my favorite albums for a long time. They followed it up with New Demons, which was incredible to me. That's like the pinnacle of the See Stars sound. And then they dropped Phases, which was an acoustic version of some of the New Demons tracks. And now they're back with Treehouse. Got a little scared for Treehouse because one of the members left, one of the vocalists. And so I felt like it's gonna get, you know, a little weak with this album. And that's what I was scared of, is they had a very, you know, lighter sound back in there. They got harder with Digital Renegade, hit their hardest sound and their most aggressive sound on New Demons, and I was afraid that there was going to be kind of like a return to their old form on this particular project, which I wasn't really into. They dropped Mobbin' Out, wasn't really feeling that single too much. It was cool, but it wasn't necessarily anything that was blowing my mind. But now that Treehouse is out, I gotta say this album is fantastic, man. And is it necessarily reinventing the wheel? Is it doing something we've never seen before? Absolutely not. But they're sounding cleaner and more solidified and confident than I've ever heard them before. Is it as hard as New Demons? No. There's, you know, obviously a lot of clean vocals on here. It does have its harder moments, but that's what it just is, moments. You're not getting incredible, like, huge chunks of the album where it's incredibly aggressive sounding. But they did have their aggressive moments to pacify people like me who really like that sound. The vocals are sounding fantastic. The instrumentation is super crisp and in your face. And I just gotta say, this is an incredibly cohesive, well put together album, great produced. And gotta say, I wasn't let down. And as apprehensive as I was going into this project, I gotta say I was not let down. And highly suggest it if you're into, you know, the post-hardcore kind of sound or some really light metalcore kind of influences into it. Next we have Bloo with his project Tony. Mini album that's doing his thing right now. He just did I believe, what is it called, Drive Thru, if I'm not mistaken. Drive Thru. Sorry, I'm looking at the name of it. He just dropped a music video for Drive Thru, which is apparently the title single from this mini album. Really love it. And again, the way I could surmise this project would be just vibes. Great vibes, man. There's something about this guy's flow in combination and conjunction with the instrumental choices that he makes on this. It's just a really fantastic project, and I love that the fact that it's pretty short. It's a really short project, but it's so diverse from beat to beat and from song to song. Where it starts and where it finishes is pretty radically different, and yet it remains a very cohesive, you know, well thought out project. So check that out if you're into Korean hip hop. I highly suggest that. So a little bit more Korean hip hop for you guys. We have the new guy that I've been listening to a lot, and I've gotten a number of people into him. Futuristic Swaver with his new project, Futuristic Swaver versus the World. Picked this up on iTunes. You know, fresh off that hot single, hot, Gang, man. That joint is insane. I love that song, man. And I did a reaction to it. People seem to really like it. Hit him up on Twitter. You know, he showed me some love. Really enjoy his work, and I finally got to check out some of his back catalog and this particular project, and I think it's absolutely fantastic, man. It's that real ignorant Korean trap shit, man, for lack of better terms to describe it. But you know, he sounds fantastic. He has this one song I believe called like "Fuck Your Feelings" or something like that. That's probably my favorite song next to "Gang" on a particular project. He has some really dope features on it. You know, Don Mills and stuff like that. So yeah, highly suggest that, especially if you're into Korean trap. Highly suggest Futuristic Swaver. Next we have Bishop Naru, Magic 19. Got turned on to Bishop Naru back when he did Nehruvian Doom with you know, a while ago at this point. And I thought he did a fantastic job. It was crazy to see a guy like MF Doom, you know, work with such a young MC like Bishop Naru. And at the time, I thought MF Doom definitely carried that project, you know, Nehruvian Doom. And I was like, I don't know about this kid. But then I started checking out his more solo material, and that's when it clicked for me. And I was like, yo, this kid can not only spit, but he obviously has a real love for that OG hip-hop, really jazzy instrumentals, just crazy word game, crazy pen game. I can definitely respect a young lyricist, and that's what I would definitely classify him as. So we have his new project, Magic 19. Really enjoy this. Super atmospheric, great production on it. Includes a number of singles that he's put out with music videos in recent times, and he's sounding better than ever. His pen game is about as sharp as ever, and I really enjoy this project. And cool thing about Bishop Naru is not only like a Kendrick per se, you get the lyricism, but you also kind of get like that contemporary mainstream sound somehow with that kind of like 90s-esque lyricism and flow. So in some of the vocal inflection ad-libs he used, you know, are definitely throwbacks. So a big fan of Bishop Naru. Glad to see him still doing some fire stuff and getting love for it. Next we have Justhis with his new album Too Many Homes for One Kid. Really was excited about this one. This dropped I think the same day as Futuristic Swaver, so I was like, that's a fire day for Korean hip-hop. And we had some really dope features on this one. Just a really, you know, enjoyable project overall. Thought he did a fantastic job. There's something about it's a really cohesive project. He's not the best lyricist in the world per se, but he put together some real dope anthems on this track, on this particular project. Next we have The Game, Streets of Compton. I mentioned this earlier, you know, The Game, West Coast legend, fresh off Documentary 2 and 2.5, so I was really surprised to see him back with another full-length project. And not only is another full-length project, but it's an incredibly well put together. With Documentary 2, we got a lot of different kind of sounds and crazy amount of features, and I feel like Streets of Compton is like The Game kind of returning to his roots, you know what I mean? And this is about as West Coast as I've ever heard Game be, you know what I mean? We getting that gang talk. You know, it's very similar again to YG's last project. Just thought it sounded fantastic. His pen game's on point. It's aggressive. It's grimy. The beats, you know, get that classic West Coast G-Funk kind of styling, man, fresh off Doggy Style. So really enjoyed that. Next we have Elzhi led Poison. The guys at Dead End Hip Hop that I really enjoy their channel. If you're into hip hop and hip hop reviews, definitely check out Dead End Hip Hop. They were doing their favorite albums of the year, and this was one album that I'd seen that it dropped, but I never got a chance to listen to it, and I heard them talk about Elzhi, and so I was like, that reminded me, yo, I gotta check out this album. So finally was able to check it out, and this is incredible. Definitely one of my favorite hip-hop albums of the year. At the end of the year, you know, we'll see you know, what makes it ultimately, but this is definitely up there. This album is incredibly well crafted. His pen game is nasty, man, and I've definitely been trying to listen and show a lot more love to just a lot of the lyricists, man. Y'all know I love me some dope, you know, just some dope rhymes, some dope crazy metaphors and similes and crazy references. I really enjoy that. So definitely got my fix on Elzhi. If you're a big fan of classic hip hop that, you know, has an emphasis on message and overall narrative, I think you'll really enjoy Elzhi. Cool thing about him is not only can he spit, but he's super introspective with his rhymes and super analytical, and then some of the references he makes, you know, double, triple entendres. So he's an incredible MC. Speaking of incredible MC, we got our next project, Mr.Lif. Don't Look Down, and I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it, if it's Lif or Life. I'm sorry about that. This album is incredible, and what I love about it is how quick and to the point it is. Only about like 10 songs if I'm not mistaken, and he's one of the few MCs that I've listened to this year that I can honestly say can keep up with like a guy as lyrical as like A$AP Rock. This project is incredible, real short, to the point, very cohesive, great production, great lyrics, love his voice, man. We got some really dope features on it. If I'm not mistaken, Del the Funky Homo Sapiens on it too, from Deltron, what, 3030 or something like that. Big fan of his work. So we got some of that. Next, back to Korean hip hop, Sleeq with Colossus. Female MC from Korea, dropped a single not too long ago that I really loved. Did a feature to it, Liquor. Check that out if you haven't thus far. One of the best MCs in Korea doing it right now. Forget about female or male. She is incredible, man. Her just rhyming ability is dope, man. And there's not too many modern MCs that I feel like can definitely keep up on her level. And this project's just really dope. Been listening to it almost nonstop since it dropped. And yeah, man. So if you're a fan of Korean hip hop, especially if you love female MCs, check out Sleeq with Colossus. Next we have Kaytranada, 99.9%. I feel like I'm a little late with this one, but I finally was able to get to it. As of right now, my favorite album of the year. Like, this album is fantastic. The production on it is flawless. We get some really dope features on it, you know what I mean? We got Lil Dragon, Vic Mensa, Luna George. Like, we got some really dope people on this particular project. And I definitely got turned on to Kaytranada by way of features on other people's project. Oh, Anderson .Paak is also on this project. So this project, my favorite of the year so far. We'll see. I don't know if this is going to be like my favorite hip-hop album of the year, because I don't know necessarily how it's classified. I have to look that up and give it a couple more listens to really understand. But love this. And then lastly, got to peep this out basically at the same time I checked the Kaytranada album out, is Flume with Skin. Recently dropped this. Not super familiar with Flume by any means. Got turned onto the artist by a trap song maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. So it's been a hot minute since I've listened to any Flume material. And I believe that was even a remix of Flume. So that's somebody I was super familiar with beforehand, but I got a number of suggestions to check out this album. Checked it out. Fantastic, man. And this one's all production, man. The production is what carries it. We get some crazy, distorted, noisy moments of it, and then we have some more cohesive, kind of trap styled. We get some light EDM in there. Overall, fantastic project. I'm gonna go over all the projects again, and I highly suggest you check all these out. Red Hot Chili Peppers, The Getaway, YG's Full Brazy, See Stars Treehouse, Bloo with Tony, Futuristic Swaver with Futuristic Swaver versus the World, Bishop Naru, Magic 19, Justhis, Too Many Homes for One Kid, The Game, Streets of Compton, Elzhi, Lead Poison, Mr.Lif, Don't Look Down, Sleeq, Colossus, Kaytranada with 99.9%, and then Flume with Skin. If you have any questions about any of these projects, leave them down below and let me know, what have y'all been listening to? And if I haven't listened to it yet, give me some suggestions of projects that you would suggest for me, and I'll let y'all know if I've heard them already. Till next time, this is Jayvee. I love you guys.